Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 2023 horror film, The Pope's Exorcist. Now, before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on this film, I would like to give a special shout out yet again to Mega Pork Chop Express for requesting this review. And if there's another film, TV show, or topic that you'd like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to either my PayPal or to my Patreon. The link to both is in the video description down below, and I will try to get to your request as soon as I possibly can. Now, The Pope's Exorcist is one of those films that, when it came out last year, I wasn't really that enthusiastic about it. In fact, when the trailer first dropped, I saw it, and I thought it looked generic. I thought it looked forgettable. I was like, oh, great, another exorcism movie. Like, we really need another one of those. I guess Russell Crowe needs another paycheck. And I know it got middling reviews when it came out, but what really piqued my interest is that I saw some reviews from some of my friends and they were surprised by the film. And so that's why I decided to pick the film up on Blu-ray from the local record shop a while back, because I heard some good things about it from people that I know personally. And so I decided, okay, all right, the price is right, so let's pick it up and give it a shot sometime. And after finally checking it out, yeah, I would say that I enjoyed it. I had fun with this film. I wouldn't say that it's a great movie, but I still enjoyed it, and I liked it a lot more than I definitely thought I would, considering how low my expectations were going in. And in all honesty, I would say it's the best exorcism film since Deliver Us from Evil by Scott Derrickson. Now, I do feel that Deliver Us from Evil was a better film than this, but I would say this is the best one I've seen since that. Now, it's directed by Julius Avery, and Julius Avery, to me personally, is a very undervalued and underrated filmmaker. Yeah, he did Samaritan before this. I'm not really gonna knock him that hard for that. That film reeks of a movie that was taken away from the director, and he just finished it so he could get paid. That's really what the project comes across as to me. Because if you look at what Avery did before this, especially with the film Overlord, which I saw in the theater when it came out, and I thought it deserved better in the box office and better critically. And I'm really glad that it has gotten a bit of a cult following over the years, because it's very well deserved when it comes to that film. And his direction in that was really solid, and he once again is showcasing his talents here. I think he's a very talented filmmaker. He really knows how to utilize a variety of different techniques and a variety of different camera movements in particular. So he's a really good director when it comes to a film that has a fair amount of motion and a good amount of energy to it. He's also good when it comes to directing sequences involving visceral horror or intense scenes of suspense or tension. And he's also equally as good when it comes to shooting sequences that are um, definitely a lot less intense, more laid back, more naturalistic, just moments between characters bearing their souls, having a little heart to heart, or ribbing one another with little verbal jabs. He's also really good at establishing shots. He's really talented when it comes to showcasing various different kinds of settings. Um, in particular, I think the way that he shot the underground catacombs and the hidden rooms underneath the house that Amorth and his colleague are investigating at some point in the film, I thought was really great. I thought he did a great job shooting those scenes and provided a lot of atmosphere and mood, and shot the set in a way where it didn't actually come across like it was just some kind of fake set that was built on a soundstage. Like, it actually legitimately looked like it was a real set. Um, and I'm not 100% sure if it was a real location that he utilized either, but whatever it is, he just did a really good job shooting those sequences and provided them with a lot of extra mystery and intrigue. And yeah, overall, I thought he did a great job. I thought it was a really well directed film for the most part. The screenplay by Michael Petroni, Evan Spillo, Topapa. I can't. Forgive me, I cannot say his last name. It's a tongue twister. Evan Spilotopoulos. Can't spill it out. And I can't spell it out either. Um, the screenplay to me, it's good. It's not great though, and it definitely isn't without flaws. But what I really liked about this script is that it has a surprising sense of humor. Like, there are moments where you'll have lines of dialogue with Father Morth, or the way that he will, uh, react to certain things. He does it in a way that's very atypical for a exorcism movie. A lot of the time with these exorcism films, the exorcist is really serious. He's all business. Unless we're talking about like Leslie Nielsen in the comedy Repossessed, or James Woods' cameo in Scary Movie 2. I mean, other than those sort of few instances, a lot of the time when it comes to these kind of films, the exorcists are really, really serious. And I get it. They mean business. But I like that Father Amorth, he has a personality, has charm, he's not afraid to crack some jokes, and it really creates a nice sense of levity that really breaks up the film at times, and makes it so things feel a little bit less monotonous in terms of the exorcism scenes. And it also makes the film as a whole stand out more from other films in this genre, because it just has a little bit of an extra unique flavor to it and feel, because it has moments where it's having a little bit extra fun. And I really like that about this script. Another thing that I really liked is the Da Vinci Code elements. Like, I think that's a very fitting review by LED Bible, saying that it's The Exorcist meets the Da Vinci Code, because it really is. Because there's a church conspiracy, and there's secret hidden rooms and catacombs, and there's a mystery, and there's investigation that is going on, and this film, story wise, really picks up and becomes really interesting, cool, and very entertaining when it just shifts focus and becomes more of a story that's centering on Father Gabriel Amorth and his colleague, Father Escobel, while they're trying to find who is the demon that's possessed this young child, Henry. And so this young child, Henry, has been possessed by this demon, and it's a race against time. They have to find out who the name of the demon is in order to free this child's soul, and to keep his body alive, because the demon is the longer that it's inside of this boy, the sicker the boy gets, and the boy doesn't have much time. And so I like that there's some extra stakes there in terms of they need to find the name before it's too late. And I just love the scenes where they're just investigating, and they're looking through the catacombs, and they find the hidden rooms, all the skeletons, and in essence, they unearth some serious skeletons in the Catholic Church's closet. And I like that there's a connection with an older exorcist who was one of the first exorcists to ever work for the Pope. And I like that once they find the name of the demon, Asmodeus, they actually are able to piece even more things together. And they even find out that the Spanish Inquisition was actually caused by the devil, who possessed the Pope's exorcist all these years ago and used him to start the Spanish Inquisition. So all of this torture and all of this death that was done in the name of the church was actually the work of the devil. I thought that was interesting. I thought that was a nice twist. And that ties into Asmodeus's plan. He possessed this young boy Henry, and he's terrorizing Henry and his family because he's trying to get a morph to agree to become a vessel for him so he can start this whole cycle all over again and infiltrate the Catholic Church and destroy it from the inside out. And I really like that revelation when it comes to this script. And that's what makes the first like 30, 45 minutes or so kind of I wouldn't say frustrating, but kind of a little bit of a letdown, because a good chunk of the first half is just very generic, kind of been there, done that possession flick stuff. As soon as Henry gets possessed, and a Morth is brought in along with his colleague, and the demon's playing tricks, altering its voice, using their sins against them, uh, causing hallucinations, or changing shape, changing form, just the typical sort of stuff that you've seen in a bunch of other possession flicks. And complete with the fact that it's a young kid again, but instead of it being a young girl and Reagan McNeil like in The Exorcist, it's a young boy. So there was a bit of familiar notes with the script early on, which made it a little just average and very mid. But once it further establishes Gabriel Morth, and you get to know these characters more, you get to know Esquibel more, you get to know Julia, you get to know Amy a little bit more, then the film starts to get better. But once it's full on Da Vinci Code meets The Exorcist, it's a blast. It just does not let up, and it's consistently engaging as well as fun. And you get a finale where you get head twisting, you get all the stuff that you expect out of an exorcism movie, and then some. And the priest eventually, Father Amorth, succumbs to the will of Asmodeus because he wants to save this boy's life, and so he essentially sacrifices himself. So he allows himself to be possessed. But instead of the typical sort of ending that you might expect from this kind of film, he doesn't, just kill himself, and that's how he saves everyone, and that's how the demon gets defeated. No, he actually tries to hang himself, but the demon's like, It's like Nedry in Jurassic Park. Nope, nope, not doing that. I don't think so. I'm not done with you. You can't get out of this that easily. And so he's possessed by Asmodeus, and when it seems like everything's just so bleak and there's no light at the end of the tunnel, his colleague and his newfound friend in Esquibel comes in, and he steps up to the plate and finds a way to get Father Morph to break away from Asmodeus enough so that they can start a prayer together. And they actually do eventually vanquish and banish Asmodeus back to hell. And it's very crowd pleasing. It's very satisfying. It's also surprisingly bloody. Like, there's a whole scene where Escobel is being haunted by this presence that is taking the guise of this woman that he was infatuated with and in love with at some point before he decided to devote himself fully to the church. And she's just completely naked in her birthday suit, covered in blood, popping out of an Iron Maiden. Something honestly out of the realm of Event Horizon. Like, it honestly reminded me of that. And he does the prayer and puts a religious piece on her forehead. I think it's like a coin or a cross, and it explodes and just a torrent of blood. So it's satisfying in that regard, and it's all done practically. And then he successfully is able to get a morph to break free from the demon, and they team up and tag team on his ass and take him out. And it is definitely a climax that is very satisfying. The the kid, the boy, he's alive. The rest of the family is definitely affected by this encounter with a demon, but they're gonna make it out okay. They sold the house, so now that they've moved back to America, and the film sets things up for a sequel where now Morth and Esquibel are further ingrained inside of the Vatican and within the Catholic Church, and now they're able to essentially be the heads of this group that's going to try to take out these other demons or investigate these other desecrated places across the globe. And so it does a good job setting things up for a sequel. And I think because of how well the characterization is with Amorth and Escobel, I want to see more. Like, it literally, it ends and you're like, I want to see more. I want to see what they're going to do next. I want to see the next adventure with these two. So I think the script did a really good job uh, uh, providing a lot for those characters to really shine, and especially shine together as a duo. Um, so yeah, there are some generic things. There are some moments that are kind of been there, done that about this script, but it has a surprising amount of depth, especially for the two priests in terms of what their sins are and their past. And there's a good amount of humanity as well as humbleness and the humor. Like I cannot stress this enough. The humor in this is actually genuinely witty, and it really does add to the overall entertainment of the story. I just wish that things were a little bit tighter in terms of the pace. I wish that Amorph and his colleague Esquibel, they teamed up earlier and they started an investigation when it comes to the location even earlier in the film. And you got more of that, more of the, in essence, kind of the religious version of Indiana Jones or National Treasure, that kind of stuff. I would have liked to have seen that expanded upon even more, maybe even with some traps, maybe even with some puzzles and things like that. Maybe that's something they could consider doing for the sequel. But yeah, other than like a few elements here and there, I felt it was a pretty good script. It wasn't great though, like I said, because of those issues, but still pretty good and a lot better than I definitely thought it would be, considering the premise, considering what I saw in the trailer, and I think it's got a good cast too. I mean, Russell Crowe as Father Gabriel Morth, he is a blessing. He really is. He's a blessing because he's just so much fun to watch. You can tell that he's actually having fun playing this role, and as a result, it becomes a genuine gem of a performance. And he's not half-assing anything. He's giving it his all, and he's adding his own signature charm to it, and it just makes for a really engaging and enjoyable lead performance. and he does a great job carrying the film as far as he can possibly take it. And I think the rest of the supporting cast is fine too. I mean, Daniel Zovatto as Escobar, I thought he was excellent. I thought he and Russell Crowe had some really good chemistry with one another. I felt that he did a good job playing the character in terms of he's a guy who's kind of not that confident early on. And he's shy and reserved and just it doesn't really seem like a guy who can really effectively take on a demon. But then as the film goes on, he becomes more confident in himself. He develops more of a connection with a Morth, and then the performance really starts to shine because he's able to show all these different nuances and these different sides of this character. It's not a one-dimensional a character or performance. Alex Essoe is fine too as Julia Vasquez, the mother of the family. It's being terrorized by Asmodeus. Um, she doesn't have a lot of depth, but for what she's asked to do in terms of being the mom and showcasing that she's dealing with a lot of angst and fear and just being unnerved by everything that's happening, and then also being strong when she has to. I would say it's a pretty solid performance by her. Franco Nero, he's in it for a little bit as the Pope, does a good job playing that role. I honestly, I I thought he had I thought he had passed already, but apparently not, which is that's good. I'm glad he's still around. I'm glad he's still with us. Um, it seems like he's been around forever because yeah, his breakthrough role was in Django in 1966, and then he was also in I think he was the lead in Enter the Ninja, and I didn't think it was really that good of a fit. Like it could have maybe I could be wrong, but I could have sworn he was the lead in that movie. Peter DeSouza-Feighoney as Henry, the boy who gets possessed. I'm not gonna blame the boy for this. I think Ralph Ineson is not a bad choice to voice a demon. Ralph Ineson has that kind of guttural, low rumble of a voice, but maybe it was the dubbing, maybe it's just how things were set up. It is a little off, and maybe the kid was kind of overdoing it a little bit in terms of trying to be intimidating and scary. But it wasn't bad, but yeah, there were some times where I was kind of like, that line delivery could have been a bit better, or that dub could have been a bit less jarring. Laurel Mardsen I thought was a little bit more consistent as Amy Vasquez, the younger sister. And you have some other people in the cast, like Cornell John as a bishop and Ryan O'Grady as a cardinal, but really the main cast is Russell Crowe, Daniel Zovatto, Alex Essoe, Peter D'Souza-Feighoney, and Laurel Mardsen. And the main cast is good. They work well together. They do some good work. And the film has some good cinematography by Khalid Motaseb, and it's well edited by Matt Evans. And it only costs like $18 million, but it looks like it costs twice that because of just how well it's directed and how much attention to detail is put into the set design and the art direction and even the costuming or even the hairdressing. Like it takes place in the late 80s, and they actually did a good job making it look like something that was from that era and from that year and from that time period. It didn't look like it was just something that was shot in modern day and then they just said it was the 80s. Like something as simple as just having Amy's hair be just big and straight up late 80s kind of goes a long way in terms of immersing you into the overall film and the experience. And there's a fair amount of practical stuff. There's some CG, especially when it comes to some of the scenes where either the boy is showcasing some demonic abilities or a Morth gets possessed. But other than that, there's a lot of practical effects. There's a lot of practical sets, which definitely does add to the film overall in a very positive way. And yeah, I think it's relatively well paced, despite there's a couple slow spots, especially in the first half. But I still think for the most part it's still relatively entertaining. And yeah, I genuinely would recommend it. Like if you like the Da Vinci Code, like The Exorcist, is a good combo of the two. Also, if you're a fan of the Conjuring films and those kind of spin-off movies, this is definitely up your alley. Um, yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by the film. And I genuinely do hope it gets a sequel. I really do. And I think I read something that there's talks about one. And I hope we do get it sooner rather than later, because I really want to see the next adventures of Father Morth and his colleague, um, Father Escobel. But anyway, that is my thoughts and my review of The Pope's Exorcist. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. See ya.